So I hope you had a great summer. Welcome to GCC. If it's your first time here, welcome back. If you are a returning student to GCC, we're happy to have you back. This is Math 096, Intermediate Algebra. My name is Ian. You guys should have a couple of handouts on your table, so let's go ahead and grab one of each. One of them is a very thick packet that looks like what's projected up here. It says Key Prerequisite Skills at the top. The other one is thinner. It's a syllabus. We'll talk about the syllabus in a few minutes. Everybody has two things? Okay. So first thing I want to say is something about this schedule. Officially on your schedule, you probably saw that this class runs 8 to 8:30 in that room right across the hall, and then 8:40 until 9:50 right here. So let me be clear. The formal part of the class is the 8:40 to 9:50 part, and we're here every day 8:40 starting right on time. The 8 to 8:30 is completely optional math studio time. That's the big room right across the hall, and it's a great place to get homework questions answered, work with your neighbors, work with a math faculty member. Every morning right before our class, Caitlin is in that room answering questions. So I sent an email to everybody a couple of days ago trying to tell you didn't need to come at 8 a.m. So some of you got it, some of you didn't. It's a good reason to either check your GCC email or have it forwarded to your real email address. But in any event, we're hoping that by building in that 8 to 8:30 block that you choose to take advantage of that slot and do some homework as opposed to hitting the snooze button 3 more times. All right? Did you have a question? Yeah, did you say 096? All right. So let's jump right in here on the big packet. Like I said, we'll talk about the syllabus shortly. There's a key prerequisite skills thing on the first 2 pages. We're jumping in right on page 3. And we'll start right up here at the top of page 3 with the daily summary. Could you read the daily summary for us, please? Okay, thank you. So we'll begin with the demo. We're going to start with this equation, y equals x plus 4. And we're going to fill in this table right here with 4 solutions to that same equation, including 1 or 2 negative values for x. So let's try that here. So we're going to pick a couple of negative x's and a couple of positive x's. We can pick anything we want, but we want it to land on this grid someplace. So how about something like -3 and -1? And then we'll pick a couple of positive x's. Maybe 2 and 4. So we'll do this first one together, and then you can try the rest of the table with your neighbors. If x is -3, meaning plug -3 right in here for that x, what do we get for y? 1. Yes, -3 plus 4 is 1. So that right there is 1. And that means that the point we're talking about is -3, 1. Right? X always comes first and then the y. So with your neighbors, be brave and check in with each other as you fill in the rest of this table. Okay, so I think that most of us are through with the table. If you're still finishing up, that's okay. But in any event, we've got these 4 points, and some of you very naturally wanted to graph those 4 points or plot the 4 points, so we can plot them. So -3, 1 is here, -1, 3 there. 2, 6, and finally 4, 8. And it sure looks like these points are really lining up nicely, and we can connect the dots with a straight line. And that line right there represents the graph of the equation we started with, right? That is the graph of y equals x plus 4. Okay, I'm not going to take points off if you don't put arrows, but this line goes forever both ways. So we're just shaking off some of that summer rust if you haven't done math in a few months, but we're hoping that this is a review for us. Let's move on to part C, and we're going to go around this table. Could you read part C, please? Okay, anybody remember which of those quadrants is called quadrant 1? Yeah.
Upper right-hand one.
Upper right-hand one. 1 is there, and then anti-clockwise or counterclockwise. 2 is there. 3 there. 4 there. Why did they go counterclockwise? I have no idea, but that's where they go. So those are the quadrants, and this line, the blue line, passes through 3 of those quadrants. What numbers does it pass through? 1, 2, and 3. Just trying to review the quadrant names. Any questions on this example before we move on to number 2? Okay, so let's move on to number 2. Can we keep going around this table? Could you read 2? Okay, so here's the equation. X over 2 equals 5/3 times the quantity x minus 65. It's okay, it's not wrong to distribute there. Some students feel that they're obligated to distribute if there's that opportunity, but you aren't. And it turns out distributing makes this problem a little bit harder than the other technique. So here's the other technique we're going to use. We're going to multiply both sides of that equation by the same number, which is okay to do, right? As long as you multiply both sides by the same thing, we're okay. And we're going to multiply by a very particular thing that's going to get rid of both of these denominators at the same time. So I need something that 2 goes into and also 3 goes into. 6. Could also have said 12 or 18. There are a lot of numbers that 2 and 3 both go into, but 6 is the smallest one, so that's the easiest one. So we're going to multiply both sides by 6. Anybody remember the fancy 3-word name for the number 6 in this problem? That's very close. Yeah, lowest common denominator, right? Least common multiple. Okay, so the 6 is there, and then we're going to start canceling. That 6 and that 2 cancel and leave me with 3 up there. So the left-hand side is just 3x equals, and then we're going to cancel the 6 on this side with the 3 here, and we're left with a 2. And that means there's a 2 times a 5 times an x minus 65. So I'm just going to write that just the way it looks. What's the nice thing about that equation compared to the original? No fractions. That's what we accomplished. We got rid of the fractions. Okay, so here's another opportunity where we could make a mistake. It's fine to distribute that 5 through. It's fine to distribute the 2 through, I guess. Here's the question. Does this 2 go with the 5 and with the x minus 65? Like, do we do 10 and then bring the 2 into the parentheses as well? We don't, and it's really tempting to do that. And some of you might think that we should take that 2 and bring it into everything inside of those brackets. But here's what's really going on. This is some number at 2. I'm just going to call it A. You don't need to write this part. That 5 I'm going to call B. This x minus 65 I'm going to call C, just so it doesn't look as complicated. I'm multiplying 3 things here, yes? When you're multiplying 3 things, do you distribute one of them into the other stuff? You don't. You just multiply them, right? And so it's basically like 2 times 5 times 7. You would do 2 times 5 is 10. You wouldn't also bring the 2 into the 7, right? Once you get the 10, the 2 is already used up. So there's no distributing here with that 2. We're just going to multiply the 2 by the 5 and write that down over here. So 3x equals, so 2 times 5 is 10, still times the x minus 65. Yes? Come on in. There's plenty of seats right over here. Okay, so how about right now you guys continue solving this equation until you get an answer. Again, check in with your neighbors, and anybody gets stuck, ask for help from one of your neighbors. Let's see if we can get an x equals at the end of this. Now, so I've written up my version of the solution. It's not the only way to solve this equation, but essentially the first thing we did was distribute that 10 through. That gave us this right here. And we noticed that we had x's on both sides. That's not so great. So we're going to move all the x's to one side. I chose to move them to the left. You could choose the other direction. So subtract the 10x from both sides. That gives me negative 7x here, negative 650 still here, and then divide both sides by that negative 7, right? And so we get negative 650 over 7. If you leave that as a final answer, that's a problem. What's the simplified version of that? Yeah, we're going to hit both sides, both the top and bottom with a -1. I'd really prefer you say positive over positive than negative over negative. So 650 over 7, it's some messy decimal. You don't need to do the division. You don't need to type it into the calculator. Fraction answers are okay. All right, come on in. Welcome to Math 096. So my suspicion is that it has been a long time since some of you have solved equations. So like I said, we are shaking off the rust. It's also 8:50 in the morning. It's not the happiest time to be doing math, but we're shaking off the rust, getting back into the swing of things, and I thought a couple of equations would do that. So let's move on to number 3, and we're right around here. Could you read 3, please? Hi, come on in. Okay, thank you. So the big packet we're going to put on hold for just a minute, and we're going to take a very quick look. That is not for you. Yes. Yes, here. Part of your homework is going to be to read through the syllabus. There's lots and lots of information in the syllabus, but the one thing I wanted to point to at this moment together is this note inside of the textbook and materials heading. You see that section on the first page, right around the middle of the page? Bad news for you. The book that we use in this particular class is personalized GCC, which means the bookstore will not buy it back. I'm just giving you a heads up. The bookstore will not buy this book back. That said, at the end of the term, some students sell their textbook to other GCC students who are going to be taking 096, which means if you haven't bought yours already, you might be able to find somebody who took 096 here last semester and would like to sell you their book at a discount, all right? But I just want to be upfront about the fact that this book is unusual. One other thing I need to do is make a correction to the office hours, also on the first page closer to the top. If you guys take a look at the middle row right here, Wednesday, what I have written up here is different from what you have on the page. It's just this last part. I think you have something like 1 to 1:30. See that? 1 to 1:30 Wednesday, it is now 2:20 to 2:50. It's a very small change. Just that one thing on Wednesday afternoons. I'm just going to say technically this is not my fault. I printed these before my schedule changed. I'm now in class at 1 o'clock on Wednesday. Everybody has that change? Okay. All right, so last thing we're going to do together, and then you guys will work in your groups, is take a quick look at the math flow chart to make sure that you are in the right math class. You do not have a copy of this. You do not have this. Okay. So you are currently right here in Math 096 Intermediate Algebra. Lucky you, Math 096 goes very far, so you could go from here next semester to Stats or College Algebra. From there you could take Pre-Calculus. The calculus chain follows. It's a very long branch that you are on, which is great for some of you. That said, if you are in a major that really doesn't ever use math and doesn't ever require you to take another math class after you take a college credit-bearing math class, then perhaps this is not the best class for you, because instead of being in Math 096, which is where you are, you could be in Math 117, which is called Mathematical Problem Solving. This one will get you 3 college credits and will satisfy the math requirement for the liberal arts major here at GCC. So I'll say again, if you're in a major that doesn't have anything to do with math or science or computers or any engineering type thing, then perhaps Math 117 would be a better option. I'm happy to talk to you individually after class. I want to make sure you are where you need to be. If you are taking this class just to fulfill the liberal arts math requirement, you need to continue on after 096 and take either of those. So in some sense, you are taking 2 classes to fill that requirement instead of the one that you could take right now, right? So let's talk individually if you have questions about that. Just want to make sure we're all in the right place. Okay, so last thing on the syllabus I want to point to is the very last page of the syllabus. And on the last page of the syllabus, you will see this big old chart. I'll project this chart at the start of every class just to give us a sense of where we are and where we're headed. But for this moment, I'm just going to point out that if you are looking to find where the answer keys are or the answers to your homework are, it's located in this column right here on the chart. Oops. Come on back. Okay, so one more time. If you are looking to find answers, this could be quite challenging in this particular book because it's a hybrid of 2 books. There's a column right there telling you where the answers are. All right, so let's come back here to this packet. we have 42 minutes. We're going to always generally have a lot of time to do the group activities. That's where you are here. Start reading with this note and see how far you can get. What's that?